Hello and welcome to Stress Less with me, Jess. Today, my special guest is Audrey White. Hello, Audrey.
Hi, Jessica. How are you?
I'm so excited to have you on here. Thanks for asking.
Uh,
So let's get started and talk about why you are so amazing. Okay, so you are a grief coach. You wrote a book called Paving a Path from Pain to Peace. It was released the summer of 2023. Hey.
it's coming. Let me qualify. I had some life that happened, so editing took a little bit longer. It's coming out in the fall.
No worries. I was about to say, I didn't see that, but it's fine. But no, this is great. And I love that being the realness of it too, right? Because life happens, which you know, and I definitely know. You are also the CEO of Grief Coach Academy, the #1 coach training program dedicated to training coaches on how to help people through grief. I think this is so important. And obviously we'll get into this in a little bit too, because this is life. Grief is life. And I'm going to ask you this in a couple of minutes. It's not just losing somebody physically as well. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Grief can be so many things. It just encompasses everything that we experience as humans. If we love, we grieve. If we care about something, we grieve.
Yeah. Can let's do this, because now my questions are just snapping through my brain. These little
Let's go.
Let's do it. Can you describe what grief is?
So grief for me is if you care about someone, if you care about something, you're going to lose it. It's something that I read in a book recently that really hit me. It's called The Wild Edge of Sorrow by Francis Weller. And he explains grief in terms of if everything you love, you will lose. And so grief is the sense of love unexpressed, like it has nowhere to go, right? Or in terms of if it's not a person or, your fur babies that we all love, it's the loss of identity. It's still, you're grieving that loss of who you used to be. You're going through a breakup. You're grieving the loss of those dreams. You're grieving the loss of what could have been. And you lose a job. You're losing your income potentially, at least for a while, until you find another one, and there will be another one. But how do we get through that? So you're grieving what could have been. And the loss itself is painful, but the suffering, I believe, really comes in from our thoughts and the thoughts that continue. And that is what creates that ongoing suffering.
Yeah. When you're just describing that, I seriously had chills run through my body, because so many people can relate to this. Actually, I think everybody can. That loss, like, and you said the words was that loss of identity that could have been, like you said, that relationship, right? So I thought our relationship was going to be this. We were going to have this white picket fence, and it doesn't happen. That job where I was going to get this promotion, and I was going to be this person within that job, and it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Right. There's obviously the loss of losing somebody. And I know this is one of your experiences as well, is that we lose people so unexpectedly. Right.
Absolutely.
And I feel like, tell me if you agree with this. So say someone we know has cancer in our life, even when we know that time is going to come, we still have to go through that process.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, there's such different processes as well with a sudden unexpected loss, a prolonged illness and chronic illness where it's coming and you're almost grieving that person every day. Because especially I think about someone with Alzheimer's, right? And the people who care about them, they're going through this on a day-to-day basis because they're seeing the person that they love lose parts of themselves day after day after day. And so, and then what I think a lot of times happens, what I believe happens is when that person does, pass on and transform to the next level, whatever that is, the people that are left behind, there's a sense of relief because that suffering is all over. But then there can also be a sense of guilt with that. Like, I love this person, then they're gone. And why am I happy they're gone? I know, I know that it makes sense because their suffering is gone. But so it can elicit so many different emotions that cause so much stress in people's lives.
And I think what you're talking about too is all those thoughts, right? Those thoughts of, like you said, I'm sad they're gone. I'm happy they're out of pain. And then you start to do that guilt trip of like, why am I happy? I should be mourning them. I should be acting this way. Right.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
that then we go to the beat up ourselves town. Right. And there's so many different stages. When you're doing your work, do you feel you see a difference of, let's just say was husband and wife? Do you see the difference of how they relate to grief when they lose somebody in their life?
Yes and no.
Okay,
I
tell
mean,
me.
and I think it's not necessarily gender specific,
Yeah.
but in general, like, what does someone normally do? Are they more introverted? Do they withdraw when they're in pain or when they're in stress? Or do they reach out? And I think those are really the differences more so than gender related, because
Right.
it really depends on, and I think we all go through that spectrum. I know for myself, I'm an extrovert. I love people. I get energized by people, but I also go through like this cocooning, and I go into my little cocoon and I have to just stay in there for a little bit until that I'm ready to come out. And I think that's kind of a normal process for anyone. It's when you kind of go in and don't know how to get out. And grief can be like that. Like you're in this hole, this dark, dim hole, and you don't see a way out. And people can get stuck there for so long, without having the proper tools and a coach and someone to really shine a light. People can get stuck there for 5 to 8 years, and that's too long for people to be having their lives on hold and not engaging. We're still here. We're still in this body. We're still in this wonderful, beautiful, amazing world. And there's work we have to do. There's love that we have to experience and give. And if we are stuck in that dark hole of grief, we need a ladder. And that's one of the things that we provide at the Grief Coach Academy through the coaching program, is really to give people a chance to say, hey, I'm stuck. I don't know where we're going. Or we also train coaches and professionals to help people specifically through grief as well. So it can be individuals, it can be professionals, but it's like, let's give people some tools, because we're not taught this in school. We're not taught how to manage our emotions, how to deal with these intense emotions, and to really think about our thoughts on these emotions. And so that's what we bring awareness to and give practical skills to work with.
My favorite part about what you just said is that we are all going to experience it, right? But in my way that I'm hearing is that you're allowed to be sad, you're allowed to be angry, you're allowed to be frustrated, you're allowed to feel down. And I think what I'm hearing is give yourself that space to have that. But then there's a time where you ask for help. There's a time where you start doing things one step at a time. There's that time, but there's also a time where you're allowed to feel those feelings and process those. And that's what I'm hearing when I hear from you.
Absolutely. I think, and we're all taught so differently about how to manage our feelings, right? I know when I was growing up, it's like, oh, don't express that, that's a little too heavy, be the good girl. And or we don't have that safe space where we're allowed to have those heavy feelings, and we're allowed to have those big feelings and to be angry, because anger is really appropriate in a lot of situations. It's okay to be angry. Do you have a safe space and a safe container to express that? Do you have a safe space to cry and, yell and scream and just be sad. And a lot of people, I think, don't necessarily have a safe container to do that in. And so how do you build that safe container? How do you reach out and find that so that you can heal? Whatever is not expressed is repressed, it is held in the body, and it really manifests in a lot of different, it can manifest in physical ailments. It gets to the point where you can't go out of the house. And we just want to give people a chance to find a way out of that. It's so, it can be so heavy not to be able to really express who you truly are and what you're truly feeling in the moment.
Yeah. I love that you brought up the body part as well, because when I teach, I talk about how you physically respond to stress. And I say that your physical response is usually your first response to stress.
Right.
Do you think the same way when it comes to grief, that your body is usually the first sign of, hey, you have to process this?
Oh, absolutely. I think grief can hit you. I know when I was going through it with the loss of my brother, I mean, it was this tidal wave and it felt like 1,000 bricks falling on me, collapsing on the floor. I couldn't stand. I couldn't move. I needed physical support to just be able to get off the floor, and you'll feel it in your body. It feels, and everybody feels it differently. It can be in your solar plexus, in your gut, just wrenching. Shoulders are up, you're tightened up, and you're in this protective mode, because what grief does, and especially something sudden like that, it kind of puts you into this fight or flight or fawn or freeze, right? So you're in whatever kind of mode you're in, you're going to tense up and prepare yourself for what's next, because you've just had something that was traumatizing to your body. And even in the best circumstances, like I had a lovely death with my mother, it was the most beautiful experience. It still hangs in your body.
So my next question for you is, you've gone through your own life experiences, from your mom to your brother, and obviously there's probably other losses in your life. And then you help others with their losses. When it comes to taking care of yourself and processing the losses in your life and just processing the day in, day out stress, what kind of systems or schedules or habits do you have in place?
I think for me, it's one, water is always healing for me. So just a little backstory. One of the reasons the book is a little delayed is that about 5 weeks ago, I had all my stuff that I had brought back from my brother's place. It was my brother's stuff, my parents' stuff, my grandparents' stuff, some of my great grandparents' stuff. I had it in storage because I was like, I'm not ready to go through this yet. It's going to bring up a whole lot of stuff and not ready. So here we go. There was a storage fire. I lost everything. Nothing survived. And talk about feeling it in your body. Like from my backyard, I could see the smoke. And so I'm sitting there going, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I had totally gone into like lizard brain, can't function, can't ask for what I need. And I shut down for the night because I'm just like, I have to sleep, right? This was so traumatizing. And it felt like losing them all over again. And the next morning, I just woke up and I'm like, I have to be by water. I need to go. And so following that intuition, and it was just this, I drove 4.5 hours to a lake I'd never been to, all because I saw this little ad on Facebook. Thank you so much, Facebook. Or maybe it was Instagram. I don't know what it was, but I was like, most beautiful lake in California. Fine, that's where I'm going. Like I literally packed a bag, got in the car and left. And it was the most amazing healing thing I've done. And it was such an intuitive process to go, this is what I need. And so I think finding those things and really listening to yourself about your body's going to tell you, your intuition is going to tell you what you need. Um, for me, it's water. For me, it's I do tend to shut down for a little bit and then I'll reach out. I'll journal, I'll call a friend. Sometimes I just need to go out and go for a walk to just get out in the sunshine and remember that I'm still alive. And one of the things that kind of got me through the pandemic is laying on the ground, like actually laying on the earth and feeling the earth and just feeling like, okay, the world is falling apart right now, but is it really? Right now, for me, this is real. And I think coming back to what's real right now, because our thoughts can take us in so many different directions. So it's like, what's real for me right now? What's real for me is that I do have a really lovely life. I have supportive people around me and reminding myself that I'm not alone because it feels like I am. Reminding myself that I'm a part of this earth, that I'm a part of this planet, and it's that connection to something physical for me is it's grounding, and I can release all of that into the earth. I can release it, and so that I don't have to carry it because I don't want to dump it on somebody else, right? But the earth can handle it. She can transmute it. She can handle it, and so I can let that go. And so for me, that's how I handle the stress of all of this.
Thanks so much for just being so open. Because I think one of the things that I've learned with what I do is that I feel people think, oh, well, because you teach about stress and burnout, you don't experience it. Right. And you just really hit the nail on the head when you teach about grief because you know the experiences of it and you know the reactions and you know the help. We'll say, I'll air quote healthy responses over here. Right. And just being real with yourself and that processing, all those things in between, I think is so important, what you mentioned. And I think what you also said too is give yourself what you need. If it's a 4-hour drive somewhere, give yourself what you need. If you need to reach out for support, give yourself what you need. If you just need to shut down and isolate, give yourself what you need. So that's what I kept hearing through your story is be what you need, right? And only you can give you what you need. So I just love you mentioning all of that. My next question for you today is we've talked a lot about grief. We talked about the reactions as grief and processing. What is the one thing you want the listener to take away today?
Grief is something that everyone is going to experience, but you don't have to experience it alone. You don't have to go through this on your own. There's communities out there through the Grief Coach Academy. We teach practical skills about and processes how to get through grief. One of the main processes that we use is the peace method. And so it's really about coming into the present moment, expressing our feelings. And once you're done expressing your feelings, you go into this sense of what can I accept about this? So now you're shifting a little bit. And it's just shifting a thought, one thought. Once you get into acceptance, it's what's the opposite? Because we think that our thoughts are real until we think about, oh, well, this other thing could also be true. And once I know that this other thing can possibly be true, my grip loosens on the original painful thought, and it opens up the possibility for something else. And then I can be enthusiastic or excited because it's like, oh, okay, this other thing is true too. So it's retraining our minds on how to let go of those painful thoughts that we think are real into here's all these other possibilities that I wasn't even aware of because I was so focused here. And so we teach people how to go through that. We teach them how to do this for themselves and others. And it's this gradual shift of like climbing up that ladder from pain and grief and sorrow to peace and acceptance and gratitude in its steps. And people need support for that. And we're here for you.
You mentioned a couple of times about your grief coaching academy. Can you tell people the best way to get in contact with you if they're interested?
Absolutely. You can find me at griefcoachacademy.com. And I'm also on Instagram and TikTok and all the social medias at Grief Coach Academy, and also Audrey Laura White. So if you do hashtag Grief Coach Academy, hashtag Audrey Laura White, you're going to find me. And if you go to the website, griefcoachacademy.com, you can sign up for 5 free videos that'll help you get introduced to the coaching through grief, a little bit about what we do, and you can also book a call with me.
Awesome, Audrey. Before I let you go, you know it's time for the lightning round. Are you ready?
I am ready, Jess. Let's do this.
Okay, favorite? No, I was kidding. I was gonna say your karaoke song. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right, your first job.
My first job, I worked as a vet tech in this little teeny tiny town. And the reason it's so funny is because he hired me after I brought a dog in there. I had a puppy dog. I was 16, right? And he gave the dog a shot and I just about passed out, like literally blacked out. And I'm like, and so then he would mess with me the whole entire time I worked with him. He's like, Audrey, come here, hold this. And he's like doing surgery or whatever. And I'm like, you don't need me, do you? He's like, no, I really don't. I'm like, I'm going to just step outside. It's February in Michigan and I need about 10 minutes in the cold. So that was my first job.
Oh my goodness. Who do you text the most?
Probably my daughter.
Oh,
My daughter lives in Rhode Island and she's like she's just my heart and I love her to death. And I hate that she's 3,000 miles away, but she's happy and doing what she loves. And thank God for texting, because we text every single day and it keeps us connected.
I love that. What is your favorite word that you use?
Ooh, can I say it on here?
You sure can. Go ahead.
Sorry, but it really is,
Release
because
word.
it's just like, God, and it's so versatile because it could be really happy or it could be like, girl.
It's just a good stress release word. I'm with you.
It truly is.
Last question. What was your first concert you went to?
Oh my goodness. This will date me. Kenny Loggins. How's that?
Yeah, the new one.
Yeah, back in the day. First concert I went to was Kenny Loggins, and it was around the time that, Footloose was out and all this other stuff. So yeah, okay, thanks, Josh. You just dated me.
I got your back, girl. I got your back. Audrey, thank you so much for making time out today. I just really appreciate you, and thanks for everything that you do.
Oh, thank you, Jess. I'm so excited to be here. It's so nice to connect with you and to your listeners. I really want to give people that hope that we can get through grief together.